Welcome to the HFY Tales channel. Remember to like and subscribe if you like the story. Enjoy and take care.
In the distant future, beneath the soaring metallic skyline of Etheris, Jackson Miles immersed himself in research that straddled the line between science and the unknowable. As a xenobiologist, his life was dedicated to unraveling the languages of alien species. However, none held his fascination like the legendary being ensnared within the confines of Sector 12, Naira, the last of her kind, trapped in a shimmering crystal enclosure. Jackson often pondered the ethics of her imprisonment. The media spun tales of her extraordinary abilities, unparalleled telepathy, the gift of healing, and whispers of a hidden realm beyond her prison, a domain where her people thrived in harmony with nature. But for Jackson, each report felt like a dagger piercing his conscience. Behind those crystalline walls lay not just an alien specimen, but a sentient being yearning for liberation. The lab was sterile and clinical, the fluorescent lights buzzing with the dull monotony of research. He navigated the metallic corridors, his heart racing. Today, he was resolute. He would see Naira, no matter the personal cost. Crossing the threshold of the observation chamber, he was met with a sight that took his breath away. Naira floated inside the enclosure, surrounded by ethereal lights that danced around her like fireflies at dusk. Her skin glimmered like the surface of a tranquil lake, with hues reminiscent of the night sky. Her long, flowing hair cascaded in shades of deep aquamarine. Yet it was her eyes, luminous and expressive, that captured his heart. Vast pools of emerald filled with unspoken tales and silent wishes. "Why do you gaze upon me, Earthborn?" Her voice echoed softly in his mind, wrapping around him like a tantalizing mist. "I want to help you," Jackson replied, surprise coursing through him at the intensity of his own words. "This isn't just. You deserve to be free, not confined to this place." A flicker of hope ignited in her gaze. "They believe they can harness the essence of my spirit, but they do not comprehend the depths of my being. I am not merely an asset. I am a guardian of dreams and protector of my kind." His breath caught as Naira spoke. The cruelty of her captors weighed heavily on him, and all he could imagine was the injustice that had robbed her of her freedom. "What do they want with you?" He leaned closer, desperation sharpening his intent. "They seek to exploit my powers, to manipulate the bond between our worlds. They think my gifts can enhance theirs, but they fail to grasp the consequences," Naira said, her voice laced with unvoiced sorrow. Chills raced down Jackson's spine as her anguish seeped into him. He could not allow this to continue. The question loomed like a shadow overhead. How could a single man defy an entire facility built upon exploitation? Yet beneath the weight of uncertainty, a fire ignited within him, an urge to fight for her freedom. He made a silent vow. He would not let her suffer in silence any longer. Jackson returned to his workspace, determination coursing through his veins. The sterile lab buzzed around him, but the noise faded into a background hum as he plotted Naira's escape. Each interaction with her had deepened his resolve. He couldn't just stand by while a remarkable being was treated as less than human. He envisioned a plan that could liberate her from captivity, but it required meticulous execution. His colleague, Dr. Mira Cade, approached, her brow furrowed with concern. "You seem preoccupied, Jackson. The higher-ups are expecting progress on the experiments." Jackson forced a smile, masking his inner turmoil. "Just been analyzing data. It's fascinating how alien physiology functions. Did you know their neural pathways are so interconnected that they can communicate nonverbally?" Mira raised an eyebrow, sensing his distraction but unwilling to press too hard. "Just don't get too caught up in dreams, okay? Remember, we're here to obtain results, not ponder their culture." As she walked away, he mulled over her words. She was right. He had responsibilities. But Naira was more than a subject. She was a voice for her people, a spirit of hope. The clock was ticking, and he needed allies. Over the next few days, Jackson discreetly gathered information, speaking to a few trustworthy colleagues during moments of solitude. He confided in a tech-savvy intern, Leo, who shared his belief in freedom for all beings, regardless of species. Leo's eyes glinted with excitement as Jackson laid out his plan to rescue Naira. "Are you crazy?" Leo whispered, glancing around nervously. If we get caught, we're done for. The security here is no joke. I know the risks, Leo, Jackson replied, lowering his voice. But we can't ignore what's happening to her. She deserves to be free, and we have the chance to do something about it. Leo hesitated, measuring the weight of Jackson's words. After a long pause, he nodded slowly. All right, I'm in. But we need a solid plan, no half measures. With Leo on his side, Jackson felt a surge of hope. Together, they mapped out a strategy that involved a late-night infiltration of the lab, disabling security systems with Leo's tech skills, while Jackson would release Naira. That evening, the two of them gathered supplies, a hollow interfacer to bypass the security grid, flashlights, and a first aid kit, just in case. Nervous energy filled the air as night settled over Etheris, casting long shadows that echoed their growing anxiety. Remember, Jackson said as they stood before the locked door to Sector 12, we're doing this for Naira. She's counting on us. The door opened with a soft hiss, revealing the glimmering interior of the lab. Jackson's heart raced at the sight of Naira's crystal prison, glowing under the lab's artificial lights. This was it. There was no turning back. Without hesitation, they stepped inside. As they entered the chamber, Naira's spirit seemingly illuminated the room. Jackson felt a mixture of exhilaration and dread, knowing that every second mattered. Leo positioned the hollow interfacer against the control panel, quickly tapping commands as Jackson kept a watchful eye on the entrance. Almost there, Leo murmured, his face scrunched in concentration. Just need to bypass the fail-safes, securing the cage. As he worked, Jackson approached the shimmering enclosure, meeting Naira's gaze. I'm here, Naira. We're coming to get you out, he said, his voice steady, but inside, he was trembling. As if sensing his fear, Naira smiled gently, her eyes shimmering. Thank you for believing in me. However, their moment of victory was short-lived. Without warning, the alarm lights blared to life, and Jackson's heart plummeted. Leo, what happened? I don't know. Leo shouted over the sirens, his fingers dancing wildly over the hollow interfacer. I need more time. Naira's expression shifted to one of determination. You must hurry, Jackson. They will come for me. We must act before the dawn. With renewed resolve, Jackson pushed aside his mounting fear. Keep working on the security. I'll handle our exit. Without waiting for Leo's reply, he approached the access panel of Naira's cage. Please unlock it. I need you to trust me, he said, a plea hanging in the air. I do more than you know, Naira responded, her voice like a soothing melody amidst the chaos. Moments felt like hours as Leo worked frantically, sweat beading on his forehead. Suddenly, the sirens cut off, and the soft, melodic chime of the unlocking mechanism filled the chamber. The crystal door slid open, revealing Naira in her full radiant glory. The moment she stepped out, a surge of energy filled the room. Jackson felt a wave of warmth and power envelop him, as Naira smiled triumphantly. Thank you for believing in me. However, their moment of victory was short-lived. Without warning, the heavy footsteps of guards echoed in the corridor, drawing closer. We have to go now, Jackson urged, panic surging through him. Follow me, Naira commanded, her voice laced with authority. She led them through a series of hallways, her intuitive senses guiding them as they darted past startled technicians and security units. Just as hope pulsed in his chest, they reached a dimly lit exit, only to find a squad of guards blocking their escape. Jackson's heart raced. Stay back, one of the guards shouted, aiming a weapon at them. Return to your stations. Naira turned to Jackson, her emerald eyes glistening. I can create a diversion. Are you ready? Diversion, Jackson asked, but before he could respond, she closed her eyes and began to concentrate. The air crackled with energy around them. Light danced at her fingertips, and suddenly, an overwhelming surge of power surged forth. Bright light exploded from Naira, blinding the guards and sending them stumbling back in confusion. Without a second thought, Jackson and Leo charged through the chaos, following Naira into the unknown. Keep moving, Jackson shouted, adrenaline propelling them forward. They didn't dare look back as the blinding light consumed the corridor behind them. Freedom felt tantalizingly close, but it also came with an overwhelming sense of uncertainty. What lay ahead in the shadows beyond the lab, and would they find safety in the world outside? Jackson wasn't sure, but one thing was clear. He had made his choice, and he wouldn't turn back now. The narrow passageway led them into an expansive underground network that stretched like veins through the heart of Etheris. As they moved farther away from the laboratory, the distant sounds of alarms faded into a haunting echo. The air was thick with anticipation and uncertainty. "We need to find a way out of here," Jackson said, glancing back at Naira, whose presence radiated a calming energy despite the chaos they'd left behind. "Which way do we go?" Naira closed her eyes momentarily, her brow furrowed in concentration. "There is an exit not far from here. Ikan sensei talia." She pointed toward a dimly lit corridor branching left. "Follow me." The three of them sprinted down the passage, their footsteps muffled against the cold metal floor. Jackson couldn't shake the feeling of being hunted, as if shadows lurked just beyond their reach. After what felt like an eternity of running, they reached a large chamber marked by industrial machinery and flickering lights. "Wait!" Leo hissed, stopping abruptly. "We need to catch our breath and come up with a plan. We can't just go barging into another area without knowing what's waiting for us." Naira nodded in agreement. "I can sense a gathering of energy beyond this chamber. It does not feel welcoming. We should be cautious." Jackson scanned the room, his heart racing, trying to catch his breath. "We need allies, people who can help us navigate this place and reach the surface safely." As if reading his thoughts, Naira stepped forward, her posture resolute. "I may have an acquaintance who can assist us. An allied faction exists outside the control of the facility, aiming to liberate my people. They've been watching and waiting for an opportunity to strike." "Who are they?" Jackson asked, his curiosity piqued. "The Vela, rebels who oppose the exploitation of our kind. They live in the ruins beyond Etheris, a hidden territory filled with knowledge of our people's ancient ways." "Ruins," Leo echoed, raising an eyebrow. "What kind of knowledge? That sounds dangerous." Naira took a deep breath. "They understand the bond between our species and possess the skills needed to dismantle the systems that oppress us. If we can reach them, we stand a chance of not only securing my freedom, but also of igniting a movement toward unity." Jackson met her gaze, feeling an electric connection between them. "Then let's go find the Vela. It's our best shot." As they made their way past the machinery, Jackson felt a tingle in the air, a sense of something greater at stake than his initial mission. The intangible pull toward Naira was now entwined with a mission to aid her people. They ventured deeper into the catacomb, Naira guiding them with a sense of direction that felt instinctual. Just as they turned a corner, a chorus of voices echoed from ahead. "Get down," Jackson whispered urgently, crouching behind a large crate as he peeked around the corner. He could see a group of armed guards talking amongst themselves, their weapons glinting ominously. Leo's eyes widened. "They're searching for us. We need to be quiet." Suddenly, a loud crash rang out from the opposite direction, drawing the guards' attention. "What was that?" one of them shouted. "Let's check it out," another guard responded, and one by one, they hurriedly retreated down the corridor. "I think we just got lucky," Jackson whispered, exhaling as the need for stealth overtook them once again. "We should move now." As they slipped past, Naira's expression turned serious. "We must reach the Vela before the facility realizes we've escaped. They'll respond with everything they have." After navigating a series of twists and turns through the subterranean labyrinth, they finally reached a braced door covered with alien symbols and glowing runes. Naira paused, her hand hovering above the surface. This leads to the outside world." Jackson felt his heart race as she pressed her palm against the door. It responded with a low hum, and as it opened, a gust of fresh air flooded in, carrying the sense of earthy foliage and distant oceans. The three of them stepped outside, blinking against the sudden brightness of dawn breaking over the horizon. Before them lay the ruins of an ancient city, overtaken by nature and time. Crumbling skyscrapers jutted out like jagged teeth, covered in vibrant green foliage and colorful flowers, while the remnants of human architecture intertwined with the wilderness screamed stories of the past. This was once a thriving part of Etheris, Naira explained. But with industrialization came exploitation, and the city fell into disarray. The Vela found refuge here, hidden from the watchful eyes of the facility. Jackson marveled at the beauty that had emerged from destruction, but his admiration was tinged with foreboding. Are we safe here? Will the guards follow us? I can feel the energy of the Vela nearby. They will know we are coming and will be prepared, Naira assured him, leading them through the overgrown streets. They walked cautiously, the atmosphere buzzing with life, the flutter of leaves, the distant calls of wildlife resonating through the air. As they ventured deeper, the weight of their journey settled on their shoulders. Each step solidified their resolve, but doubts also lingered among them. What if we don't find them? Leo muttered, glancing around anxiously. What if they don't accept us? Then we'll find another way, Jackson replied, though uncertainty gnawed at him. We're here for Naira. We'll figure this out together. Eventually, they came upon a clearing encircled by lush vegetation, and in the center stood a gathering of individuals, their presence commanding and familiar. Dressed in worn but dignified clothing, each person radiated a sense of unity and purpose, mingling with the whispers of the wind. Among them stood a tall figure with striking features, their long hair adorned with ornamental beads. As they spotted Naira, a smile broke across the stranger's face. Naira, the figure exclaimed, rushing forward. You've returned. We thought we had lost you forever. I am back and not alone, Naira replied, gesturing to Jackson and Leo. I come with friends who risked everything to save me. The leader turned with an appraising look, their piercing gaze scrutinizing Jackson and Leo before settling back on Naira. You have brought humans into our sacred space. Jackson's heart raced as he sensed the tension in the air. We are here to help. The facility. How can we trust them? Another member interjected, their voice filled with skepticism. The humans have been our captors and enemies for too long. They are different, Naira interjected passionately. They have shown me kindness when I had none. They seek to unite our worlds, not tear them apart. The crowd fell silent, exchanging glances that bore the weight of centuries of mistrust. Jackson felt vulnerable under their scrutiny, but he stood firm. We believe in freedom, he said boldly, looking around at the gathered Vela. Not just for Naira, but for all kinds. If you let us join your cause, together we can resist the oppression of the facility and create a future where we all coexist. Slowly, a murmur of doubtless uncertainty rippled through the gathering. Then the leader spoke, their voice commanding yet understanding. Perhaps you are right. Perhaps there is a chance for unity. But know this, trust must be earned, and betrayal will not be tolerated here. Understood, Jackson replied, relief washing over him. We're ready to do what it takes. The leader nodded. Then welcome, allies. We shall see if you are truly worthy of the alliance we seek. As the sun set over the ruins, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, Jackson stood among the Vela, a sense of purpose awakening in his chest. They were on the precipice of something new, and though challenges loomed ahead, they would face them together. The gathering of the Vela continued into the night, flickering campfires illuminating their faces as discussion swirled around them. Jackson sat between Naira and the leader of the Vela, a man named Kai, who commanded the attention of those around him with his deep voice and resolute presence. We must capitalize on the chaos caused by the facility's recent experiments. Their eyes are focused inward, making this the perfect moment to strike, Kai declared, steely determination threading through his words. What do you mean? Jackson asked, curiosity piqued. How can we turn this to our advantage? There's an old research station on the outskirts of the city, abandoned, yet it houses advanced technology that could guide our movement. If we access this station, we can disrupt their communications, confuse them, and gain a foothold, Kai explained. But we cannot do this alone. Your knowledge of the facility and its security could prove invaluable. Naira leaned closer to Jackson, her voice soft yet urgent. This is our chance to strike back against those who have oppressed my people for so long. Jackson nodded, his heart racing at the prospect of finally taking action. "I'm in," he affirmed. As the discussions progressed, Jackson learned more about the Vela's operations, their strategies, and how they had survived in the shadows of Etheris. Tales of loss and resilience echoed around the fire, resonating within him as he realized their plight mirrored Naira's. Eventually, a woman named Lyra, skilled in scouting and reconnaissance, stood and painted a vivid picture of what lay ahead. "We'll need to move at dawn while the facility remains unaware of our plans," she stated, her voice inspired with conviction. "If we time our approach perfectly, we can slip inside, secure the technology, and vanish before they realize what happened." A sense of camaraderie grew among the group, hope interweaving with their determination. They spent the next few hours discussing tactics, forging their strategy, while Jackson felt a fire sparking inside him, an acceptance of his new role in this uprising. As dawn broke over Etheris, a golden light spilled across the ruins, washing away the remnants of night. Jackson awoke with renewed purpose, ready to face whatever lay ahead. They had a mission now, one that held the potential to shift the balance of power. Before they departed, Kai gathered everyone in a circle, solemn and steady. "Today, we fight not just for ourselves, but for those silenced by fear. Remember, our strength lies in our unity, and in that unity, we find our power." Jackson felt a sense of belonging swell within him as he stood shoulder to shoulder with Naira and the Vela. Together, they were no longer just a collection of individuals. They were a force intent on change. The party moved swiftly through the remnants of Etheris, navigating through overgrown streets and crumbling structures. Jackson fell into step behind Naira, her presence radiating strength, grounding him amidst the underlying tension. Each step closer to the research station heightened his anticipation mixed with anxiety. The thrill of rebellion was palpable. The group reached the outskirts of the facility about midday, the once familiar landscape now transformed into a battlefield of memories. The abandoned research station loomed ahead, an eerie structure cloaked in vines, yet still towering, a testament to the ambitions that had led to Naira's captivity. "Stay low and stick together," Kai instructed as they approached the entrance. "We'll split into teams. Jackson, you'll guide Naira and Lyra to the main control room while I take the others to secure the perimeter." Jackson nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. "Let's do this," he whispered, meeting Naira's determined gaze. With a deep breath, they crept inside, the air stale and thick. Moonlight filtered through the broken windows, illuminating the dust particles that danced around them. Jackson activated his hollow interfacer, scanning the area for any signs of surveillance. "We should be clear for now," he whispered. As they made their way through the dimly lit corridors, Naira remained close, her aura almost tangible as it shifted into focus. "It feels strange to walk through a place that once held my kind as prisoners," she murmured, her voice carrying a hint of sadness. Jackson glanced at her, empathy flooding his heart. "We're taking the power back," he assured her. "You're not a prisoner anymore, Naira. Together, we're rewriting the story." They reached the main control room, its door partially ajar. Jackson paused upon noticing the flickering lights from within, indicators of active technology. He looked back at Naira and Lyra. Their faces mirrored his trepidation. "Ready," Jackson whispered, pushing the door open. Inside, holographic screens displayed streams of data, bubbling with life as the facility's system operated. Jackson's eyes widened, but urgency propelled him forward. "We need to shut this down and map our options. If we can cut communications, it will create confusion." As Naira and Lyra began working on the technology, Jackson felt an electric charge in the air. He focused his energy on the screens, scanning the complexity of the system, trying to predict the implications of their potential interference. Minutes felt like hours as Naira and Lyra worked diligently, their fingers dancing across the controls. Suddenly, alarms began blaring, red lights flashing wildly through the room. "The guards have detected us," Lyra yelled, panic flashing in her eyes. "Keep working," Jackson shouted, even as adrenaline surged through him. "We can't pull back now." Naira took a deep breath and closed her eyes. A wave of glowing energy enveloped her, radiating from her being as she concentrated. "I can enhance the systems, but it may take a moment to stabilize," she exclaimed, focusing her powers on the technology. Just as the intensity of her light illuminated the room, the door burst open, guards flooding into the space, weapons drawn and fierce determination in their eyes. "Get down," Jackson shouted as he pushed Naira behind him, adrenaline kicking in. He quickly calculated their options, while the guard shouted orders. There was no turning back now. "Hold them off." Kai had arrived with the others, forming a barricade with whatever they could find. The room erupted into chaos. Gunfire echoed through the abandoned research station, and Naira's energy pulsed in tandem, blocking incoming shots and redirecting them harmlessly away. Jackson and his allies fought valiantly, adrenaline propelling them forward. "Lyra, keep working on that control panel," he yelled over the din. Within moments that felt like an eternity, the holographic screens flickered and dimmed. Then abruptly, silence fell as the alarm ceased. Jackson could hardly believe it. They had done it. With the system down, communication would be disrupted long enough for them to gain an upper hand. Naira fell to her knees, panting heavily, but her eyes shone with fierce determination. Kai rallied his team. "Get ready. We're breaking out of here." As they prepared to retreat, Jackson felt a surge of pride for himself and his new allies. They were more than friends bonded by circumstance. They had become a family united by a desire for freedom, longing for a better future. Together, they charged forward, leaving the chaos of the research station behind. The relentless struggle had only just begun, but they were ready to face the dawn of hope. The remnants of the research station receded into the distance as Jackson, Naira, and the Vela raced through the ruins of Etheris. Triumph coursed through their veins, buoyed by the victory they had achieved, yet the reality of their situation remained raw. They had disrupted the facility's operations, but the battle was far from over. As they reached the outskirts of the city, the group gathered for a moment of respite. Jackson glanced back at the shadows of Etheris, a landscape beset by industry and oppression. Beyond those walls lay the hope for a future where Naira and her people could be free. "Now what do we do?" Leo asked, wiping sweat from his brow. "The facility will send forces to retaliate. We've made a statement, but they will come for us." Kai stood tall, his eyes narrowing in consideration. "We regroup and fortify our position. The Vela have access to hidden tunnels and safe houses throughout the ruins. We need to rally our allies and prepare for what's to come." Naira stepped forward, her presence soothing yet potent. "We cannot hide in fear. We must turn this into a movement, show the people of Etheris the truth of our existence, the strength we possess when united." Jackson felt a swell of pride as he watched her, her resilience breathtaking in the face of adversity. "You're right," he affirmed, looking at the others. "If we want to make a true impact, we need to reach the hearts of people who believe in change. We'll organize a rally, a demonstration that calls attention to the plight of both Vela and alien beings trapped in darkness." Lyra's eyes sparkled with inspiration. "We can leverage the technology we've acquired, holographic projections, to share our story. It will show them what the facility has kept hidden." With unwavering resolve, they set to work, strategizing their efforts and sharing their stories. Jackson felt a renewed sense of purpose as they forged connections within the underground factions in the ruins. Their message began to resonate, attracting support from those disillusioned with the oppressive regime of Etheris. Days turned into weeks as they rallied support. Activists, sympathizers, and individuals from various backgrounds joined their cause, gathered for the first time in a common purpose. The tides began to shift, whispers of rebellion ignited throughout the city, and hope turned into tangible momentum. Finally, as the day of the rally dawned, banners waved through the breezy morning air, creating a kaleidoscope of colors against the backdrop of the ruins. Jackson stood before a growing crowd, his heart pounding in his chest alongside Naira at his side, her regal presence captivating those gathered. "We stand today not just for ourselves, but for our kin who remain oppressed," Jackson began, his voice rising above the hum of the crowd. "Today we declare our right to coexist, to thrive, and to be heard." A roar of support erupted as Naira stepped forward, her voice universally harmonic as she spoke, resonating through the hearts of all who listened. We are more than our imprisonments, more than the label society has placed upon us. Together, we can chart a path toward peace and understanding." As they spoke, Jackson felt the energy surrounding them shift, an electric vibrancy coursing through the air, igniting the spirits of those present. Hope blossomed, laughter and shouts of solidarity echoed throughout the ruins. The movement built momentum, breaking barriers and challenging perceptions. Yet amidst the celebration, an uneasy tension threaded through the crowd. Jackson sensed it. They were not alone. The facility's forces had been gathering, prepared to quash this uprising. "Stay strong," Kai shouted, rallying the crowd. "We will not be silenced." But just as the atmosphere hit its peak, a blaring siren echoed through the air, cutting through the moment like a dark cloud. Mercenaries, armed and dangerous, emerged from all sides, their intent clear: to dismantle the uprising before it could gain traction. Faced with this crisis, Jackson glanced at Naira, determination shining in his eyes. "We need to protect the crowd. We can't let them scatter." In that heartbeat, Naira unleashed her powers, light pouring forth from her very essence, illuminating the path for those among them. The crowd held their ground, emboldened by her presence, unwilling to be intimidated. "Together!" Jackson shouted, rallying everyone to stand firm. They formed a united front, a tapestry of strength symbolizing what they were fighting for. A battle erupted then, cries of defiance filling the air as the Vela and their allies fought against the oppressors. Jackson found himself side by side with Naira, their connection deepening as they moved in sync. They were not just fighting for survival, they were fighting for the right to exist in a world free from fear. And amidst the chaos, Jackson realized this was not just a battle for Naira or the Vela. It was for a future where every being could thrive without oppression. As shadows loomed and the tide of the struggle shifted, hope remained at the forefront of their hearts. Jackson gripped Naira's hand tightly, drawing strength from their bond. "We won't stop. This has just begun." "This fight is ours," Naira affirmed, her spirit vibrant amidst the turmoil. "We will rise together." With renewed vigor, they pushed forward, their strength intertwining through the collective actions of their allies. Together, they fought against the darkness, their resolve shining brighter than any adversary. As the sun began to set over Etheris, painting the sky in brilliant colors, a wave of unity surged through the crowd. They would not falter. They would continue this fight until the dawn of liberation. And with that, the battle for freedom began, one that would change the very fabric of their world. Weeks passed since the rally, a beacon of defiance that had ignited sparks of rebellion across Etheris. Jackson stood atop a ridge overlooking the ruins, where remnants of their struggle lingered and new beginnings had begun to sprout from the ashes. The Vela, alongside their allies, had made significant strides to reclaim their agency. Communication lines were established, resourceful efforts led to food and shelter for activists, and a growing community of support blossomed. What had once been whispers of dissent transformed into a chorus of voices demanding change. Jackson turned to Naira, who stood beside him, her presence grounding him. "I can hardly believe how much we've achieved in such a short time." Naira nodded, her eyes reflecting hope. "This is just the beginning. Our union is burgeoning, and with each person who stands up, we get closer to true liberation. The stories we share will reshape the narrative we've been subjected to for too long." They gazed out at the landscape, now adorned with vibrant murals, depicting their shared dream, a future intertwined, where both humans and Vela thrive together. Together, they would advocate for the freedom of all beings, destined to dissolve the barriers that had divided them. As they watched the world transform around them, Jackson felt an unbreakable bond with Naira deepening. They were united by their struggles and hopes, an unshakable alliance that no force could extinguish. "I never thought I'd find a purpose like this," Jackson admitted, his voice steady. "You opened my eyes to what really matters." "And you have opened my heart, Jackson," Naira replied, her warmth enveloping him like sunlight. "Together, we are stronger than we ever dreamed possible." With the winds at their backs, they turned to face the horizon where the sun set, illuminating the darkness with its golden glow. They were warriors now, and their journey would continue as long as there were those willing to fight for love, understanding, and the harmony they yearned for. They stepped forward, ready to forge a unified future, a promise for all that echoed through the ruins and beyond, signaling the dawn of liberation.